Hey, what's up, everyone? Donut here. Just to start this off, I want to say I'm not committing suicide. It's not a cry for attention or anything. I just wanted to point out a very serious issue in law enforcement and say that I'm here to help if you ever need help. So I was having trouble finding a stupid criminal to make fun of today, and I came across this article, and I just wanted to talk about this a little bit and even share some personal stories with you guys. Henry County police officer Mike Reed was found dead in his patrol vehicle on Friday with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, apparent suicide. Officer Reed had pulled behind a Publix grocery store and in his patrol car and shot himself. Earlier this month, a police officer in Philadelphia by the name of Francis Siebert shot himself in the head in his home. He was only 25 years old. Last month, Lieutenant David Medina in Laredo, Texas, with the Laredo ISD Police Department, shot himself. It's really, really serious stuff. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. I know that trying to play it tough and act like you don't need help can sometimes get the better of you. I'd be lying if I said I didn't leave policing because I was starting to get a little stressed out from everything. Last year in the United States alone, 108 officers committed suicide. According to a website called the Badge of Life, it's a foundation set up to help police officers who are contemplating suicide. I'll put some links and some stuff at the end of this video to that in case you need to contact them. I'm making this video because I know I have a large law enforcement following on this channel, and I just want to say you're not alone when it comes to things like this. And I was going to give a few stories to the people who aren't law enforcement officers, just to show kind of the things you see and the stress that you have to deal with on a daily basis. I just want to go ahead and say I'm kind of piggybacking off of a video that Officer 401 made. He's another cop vlogger, awesome guy, tells some really good stories. He made a video called The Ugly Truth of Being a Cop. If you don't know anything about law enforcement, or you want to learn more about law enforcement, or you're contemplating being a police officer, go ahead and watch that video from start to finish. While we're speaking about Officer 401, for those of you still sending me stupid messages about how I'm ripping him off in the Officer 104 video I did, you need to take a step back and realize that that is a parody. Get your fancy little computer or iPhone, go to Google, search parody. Officer 401 is a friend of mine, and he got a kick out of that. This channel was created for a few reasons: to prove that the mainstream media are a bunch of dirtbags, to help me cope with the things I was dealing with at work, because humor's always gotten me through everything, and just to show people that there's a lighter side to policing, but there's also that shitty side to policing, which is what I'm going to talk about in this video. I was a police officer for 3 short years. That's an incredibly small career for a police officer, but I just wanted to share some of my stories from my tiny little career. And they're not good stories, so if you don't want to hear negative, awful shit, I suggest you stop watching this video now. I think it's absolutely necessary, though, for some people to hear what police officers have to deal with. I've had a lot of people jump in my live stream at night and say, "What's the worst thing you've ever seen?" Well, let's go ahead and talk about that. Let me add on that that's a terrible question, in my personal opinion, to ask somebody. Where to start? Where to start? My second shooting that I ever went to, I was fresh out of FTO. I was in a car by myself finally. It was probably within a month of getting out of FTO. We got a call for a shooting across town. It was a good distance away. Pulled up to the scene, went inside. There was a party, so there was neighbors and friends standing in the yard, and there was a 30-something-year-old black female sitting there holding her head like this, and blood was just pouring out of her face, right? What had happened is her boyfriend and her had gotten into a little argument at the party, and she had thrown some soda on him. He got pissed, left, came back with a 22 pistol, put the gun to the side of her head, and pulled the trigger. Right, didn't kill her. Went through her temple and severed her optic nerves in both her eyes. I think it's optic nerves is the correct medical term for it. I don't know. Anyways, it blinded her, and it didn't kill her. She's still alive. She's blind. And I mean, we ended up catching that shithead. But that was the second shooting I ever went to, and I'll always remember the relatives in the front yard saying, "Why did you get here so slow? Why didn't you show up quicker?" Looking back at the logs for that, we got there in like 46 seconds. It was less than a minute response time. I remember an overdose that I went to. It was at an apartment complex that I was actually working extra duty at. A 23, 24-year-old kid had overdosed on heroin laced with fentanyl. Just killed him on the spot. He died in his bathroom floor. I remember this one particularly because he was a student at the University of Kentucky. He had just finished his degree. He had just started working for BMW. He was making awesome money for a 24-year-old. Had his whole life ahead of him, making badass cheddar working for BMW. And what he was doing heroin for, I'll never know. But the apartment manager, she ran up to me and handed me a cell phone with his parents on the other end. She had already let slip some information, but I basically had to tell his parents, who lived in another state, that their son had died, overdosed on heroin. That was pretty awful. Within that same week, I was at National Night Out, which is where you have you provide free food and entertainment for the community just to bring them closer to government officials. We go in there, we talk to kids, we have a good time. I remember this one little girl. I went to make funny faces at her, or talk to her or something. Her mom grabbed her by the arm while they were in line getting the free food and said, "We don't talk to those people." I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" Her mom says, "We don't talk to the police, honey," and drug her off. Little girl was like 3 years old or something, so that's something great to instill on your kids, but that's commonplace in the area that I worked in. There was one time I responded to a vehicle striking a pedestrian. It turns out that pedestrian was like a 1.5, 2-year-old kid. The mom was pushing the baby across the street in the stroller. This guy was looking at his cell phone from across the street driving the car, looked up, decided he just absolutely had to cross the road at that time, took off in his truck, and took the stroller and the baby right out from the mom's arms as she was pushing it across the street. Baby got smushed all over the road. I don't know if it lived. I don't think it was breathing when we got there. EMS was right behind us, so they got out and worked on that one. The father showed up, and we had to keep him from beating the guy to death who ran his baby over because he was looking at his cell phone, which was hard for me not to beat the guy to death also for being such a shithead. That's not to mention that a large part of the population that you help protect and defend absolutely fucking hates your guts. The media is trying to get money, and it's cool to hate police, so they're finding every way to fuck you. The only people you have to talk to are either A, a shrink, or B, the other police officers that you police with, but you don't want to come across as a pussy and break down or say something that'll make you look weak. Then you have millionaire celebrities taking every advantage they can to shit on police officers when they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Oh, not to mention you have to attend the funerals for for one of your friends or officers from the surrounding area a few times a year. But like I said, that's just a few of the things that I went through in short 3-year career of policing that I had. I don't want to mention, the sexual assaults or children or some of the other shit. I'll leave you with the stories that I just did. For all the things that you have to witness though and deal with, policing is an amazing career, man, and I kind of wish I was still back in it. Like I said, the reason behind this video is I know that policing is extremely hard. It can be extremely taxing on your body. The emotional and physical toll that police officers put on their bodies over a 25, 30, maybe even more than that year career is deadly. If you're having some trouble coping with some things, I understand where you're at. You can always contact me at donutoperator@gmail.com. You can always contact the Badge of Life. It is an organization put together just to help with officer suicides, and there's also the National Suicide Prevention Hotline you can contact. Guys, this is Donut. I'm sorry for the extremely morbid video. I just wanted to get it out there that you're not alone in dealing with rough shit, and there's always someone willing to help out. I just want to end this with saying thank you, everyone, for your continued support for me, and I will continue to support you if you need help. Donutoperator@gmail.com. Everybody, please have a lovely night.